Hi, and welcome to the episode of Utah Crossbow Hunter, where today I am going to be talking a little bit about a comment that I got uh, concerning arrows and weights and momentum and all that kind of good stuff. So it's I guess you could say I'm answering this email or this comment that I got. Um, Now, I did a video about a month ago or so on speed versus kinetic energy. Uh, so, and this response came from one of my videos I just did uh, on what arrows am I going to use for my turkey hunt. But uh, it's not, of course, not in relation to the turkey hunt. It's just a comment. So let's get right into that comment. And yeah, yeah, I see. Thank you, baby. I'm just going to read it to you here. Then I'm going to kind of break it down a little bit. But it's from Montana West Photography Studio. It says you might consider going to at least 150 grain for a broadhead and field points, as the bows are breaking limbs with lighter arrows. And we'll come back to that here in just a moment. These crossbows are these crossbows are massive energy machines. They shoot 150 to 200 grain fixed blade broadhead perfectly when the shaft is properly tuned. I'll be buying the Speed 425 and building 700 to 800 grain arrows for long shots on elk and other western game. I'll be using the 315 grain forged steel single bevel Ashby broadhead and heavier inserts. I've done all the math and I will somewhere around 300 feet per second, and the crossbow will be super quiet. I'll remove the limbs and string silencers for more speed, and they won't be needed, as my heavy arrows will massively reduce the noise and absorbed by the maximum energy from the limbs. High speed doesn't impress me. What impresses me is the energy transfer to the heavy arrows and the massive momentum at the target. The high speed is irrelevant when it comes to momentum. Let's see. I believe that all you have to do is get the arrow to the elk and the elk will die is false. The bow doesn't kill, the arrow does. Too light and you waste energy into the bow. To go heavy and the arrows absorb the wasted energy. Read the Ashby reports and consider the science from people way smarter than you and me. Okay, so yeah, I do have a little bit of issues with that, but not too many. So let's break this down a little bit, then I'll get into some other stuff here in just a moment. You might consider going to 150 grain with a broadhead and field points, as they are breaking limbs with lighter arrows. That is correct. They are breaking limbs with lighter arrows, as my belief also. But with that said, every crossbow manufacturer has a recommended weight for their arrows, and that's what they put into their package when you buy the package, the crossbow with the arrows and everything. So if they say, I'm just going to use an example. I'm not going to get into science or anything like that yet. So if they say a 400 grain arrow you shouldn't be going anything lower than 150 grain or 400 grain arrow. That's including the tip. That's because I believe, if I remember correctly, and I could be wrong, the Reaper 425 comes with a 350 grain arrow, I believe. I could be wrong, but I don't remember off the top of my head. But you don't want to shoot anything lower than 350 grains. You want to make sure you're above that so you don't break your limbs. So yeah, I that's one thing you gotta can't stress enough, And I mean, a lot of times too, even with heavier arrows, limbs are still going to break. It could be a manufacturer defect. It could be, several things that could result in breaking of that limb. But again, I think the biggest thing though is the arrow weight, getting it below what they should be, and that is why the limbs are breaking. Heavier arrows, could they break a limb? I don't know. I have no idea. I have not have any issues with any of my crossbows, my Centerpoint, my Carbon Express, or my Killer Instinct with limbs. None whatsoever. But I shoot a bit heavier arrow out of them than what the manufacturer says. So I'm okay with that so far. Shooting a 700 to 800 grain arrow. Okay, the Ashley report. If you look at all, I mean, there's a ton of stuff. As you can see it right, the Ashby Bow Hunting Foundation here, and I'll put links to this down below. They've done a lot of research, a lot. But the thing to remember is they've done the most of their research with compound or long bows. Okay, compound or long bows, yeah, you probably want to shoot a pretty good heavier arrow out of those because they're shooting a slower speed. Again, I'm not no expert in compound bows or long bows or anything like that. I know nothing about them, but I do know they are at a lower speed, and their arrows, some of the arrows that they build for them are heavier arrows because of the lower speed. So, I mean, there's a lot of information there. But again, if you want to go to a 700, 800 grain arrow, power to you. That's up to you. But I'm going to show you some stuff here in just a moment on why I don't go up to a 700 or 800 grain arrow. Because as he says down here, let's see. Where was that at? Where he talks about the massive energy and transfer. Yes, there is a lot of transfer to your arrow. But he also says that speed is irrelevant when it comes to momentum. Yes and no. Okay. You want to get your arrow there as soon as possible. So your speed and momentum has got to correlate with what your kinetic energy is going to be, in my opinion. Again, I'm no expert, but this is just my opinion. So I have some charts that I use. One that I can use here is Realtree, and I'll put a link to all this stuff down below. That one that I use, the gold tip kinetic energy and FOC calculator I use, and then there's the best crossbow source that I also use. So I use a lot, those three mostly. So I've already put some figures in So let me go over to this one here, to the best crossbow source. So I've already put in his estimated speed of 300 feet per second. Now he says he's going to take all the dampeners and everything off. Personally, I wouldn't recommend that, because it is going to change your crossbow, you know, in the way it is set up. Now, if you're a crossbow expert and you know how to do all that kind of stuff, it probably won't make much of a difference. But if you're new to crossbows, I wouldn't take them off. I do like my limb and string silencers. They work really good. So, but like I said, this first one here, like I said, estimated speed of 300 feet per second, and the arrow weight, I used the 800 grains. I went to the max that he had, and I don't know what type of fletchings he's going to use, 2, 3, 1 inch. I don't know, and I don't know the height, and I don't know what arrow length he's talking about. So I'm just going to use the 3-inch fletchings, the 4.4 and 4.5 in height, and a 20-inch arrow. So at 300 feet per second, a kinetic energy of 160 feet per second gets a momentum of 1.6. We'll call it 1.7, just for ballpark figure. That is a lot of. Let me get rid of this. Sorry about that. So that is a lot of massive momentum going into that animal. Okay. Elk, moose, large animals like that. Okay. But look what we're doing here. He's talking about taking longer shots. What kind of longer shots? I don't know. 50, 60, 70 yards? I have no idea. So at 10 yards, we got a 2-inch drop. Kinetic energy of 298. Let's see. I'm sorry, 298 for the speed, 158 for the kinetic energy, and we're still above the 1.06. But as you go further down, that's what gets a little spooky. So at 40 yards, you have a 32-inch drop. A kinetic energy of 293. I'm sorry, speed of 293, which it doesn't drop off speed-wise that much. And the kinetic energy of 152. We're still above the 1.04 momentum. 50 yards, we got a 50-inch drop. That's quite a bit of a drop. And the speed is still up there a little bit at 292. Kinetic energy at 151, and momentum of 1.04. But let's drop down to the 70-yard range. So if you're taking a shot at a moose or an elk at 70 yards, you got a 100-inch drop. So in other words, your crossbow is going to be shooting like this, and there's going to be a huge, huge arc going there. So your arrow will probably, by my guess, would be almost going in at a, what do you call it, 7-degree angle, I guess. I don't know. I'm just guessing here. But your speed is at 298, kinetic energy at 148, and you're still above the 1. I mean, you're at 1.03 in momentum. So you're up there. But you have to make sure, I would say anything above 40 yards, you got to make sure of your clearance of everything around you. In other words, nothing in your way. No tree branches, no nothing. Okay? So that would bother me. That would bother me. So now we're going to go over to this one here. is my 420. Let's see, my 425 gold tip pros. So I got a speed of 374 and a weight of 474. So it's shooting a little bit flatter, but our momentum here, as you can see, is a 0.7. Is 0.7 good enough to go through a moose? Well, let's find out here. So let's go over here. Let's see. My arrow weight is 474. My arrow speed is 374. And looky here. We moose. The same exact stuff that he's shooting 800 grain arrows that I'm using 474 grain arrows. So about half in momentum. In arrow weight. So the kinetic energy is 474, perfect. Slugs and momentum is 0.7, 0.8787. Okay, so is that going to moose? Absolutely, it is going to go through that moose. But again, if you look here at a 40-yard shot, it's just a 21-inch drop. We're at a 40-yard shot with 800 grain. It's a 32-inch drop. So 32 and 21, about 11-inch difference. Could that make a difference? So yeah. So if you got your arc is going to be a little more flatter than this. So yeah. The momentum is perfect. Now these ones here are with my 500 gold tip Nitro Pro arrows. My speed on those is 374. 348, and my weight is 352. 3-inch fletchings, 4.45 in height, and it's actually 22-inch arrow. So if that makes sense, that makes that a difference. Let me change that there and calculate. Nope, it does not really not making much of a difference. It just went from 21 here to 25. But I'm not going to be shooting at the 50, 60, or 77 because again we're getting a huge arc in my opinion. But the momentum is 0.8. Got 8.5, 8.4, all the way down to 8.0. So that's plenty of momentum to go through a moose. And again, the speed is there. So you got your vertical drop. You got to take in consideration your vertical drop, your arrow speed, kinetic energy for your momentum. So that's just my opinion. On his comments. Now, is he right? Is he wrong? No, he's not. I think he's a he. I'm not sure but I'm going to say he for right now. But yeah, he is right. One thing, the bow doesn't kill. It's the arrow that does. Okay, so you want that arrow to make a nice, clean shot through. So anything, a heavy arrow, in my opinion, if you're going to shoot an elephant, that'd probably work. But we're not shooting elephants. We're shooting elk. We're shooting, moose. And, for years, people have been using, 400, 500 grain arrows, and they go right through those animals really quick. So, actually, report, it's a great report, but you got to remember, you can use some of that stuff and transfer it over to crossbows, but you need to do a lot of fine tuning to do that. like I said, again, I wouldn't be taking off my silencers because that's the same crossbow that I'm going to be using for deer. Because deer, you don't need an 800 grain arrow. You don't, you know. Um, so you might. So with that said, and a 400, 500 grain arrow is sufficient for a deer. It's going to blow right through it and blow it up. Well, not blow it up, but it's going to do sufficient damage. But for an elk, I mean, you got to consider this. The people who probably, I just my guess, with a compound bow or a long bow are probably using 500-600 grain arrows for elk. I don't know. I really don't know. But I'm using crossbow. I'm not using a compound bow. Crossbows are faster than compound bows. Probably 2 times faster, I'm guessing. So, again, I mean, you got to consider your vertical drop, your arrow speed, your kinetic energy with your momentum. And a 500, like I said, a 500 grain arrow would be sufficient probably for an elk. Like I said, it's the momentum here. This is my gold tip 500 nitro arrow, and it comes in. Actually, arrow weight comes in around an average of 433, and with the 125 grain tip is what gives me the 552 on the average for my 22-inch nitro go tips. So, I mean, again, we're looking, at 70 yards, 100 grain or 100-inch vertical drop. And that's coming down almost like a missile. Boom, down. So because you want a flatter trajectory of your arrow to go through that animal. Okay? Because like if you're in a tree stand and you're shooting down at close range, you want to obviously shoot a little bit higher so you can go through the vitals of that deer. Elk and moose, you're probably going to be standing on the ground or blind or something, getting on those. So a flatter shot would be your ideal shot. Like you say here, all these drops here, and then the less, 30, 21. I mean, you're still getting a slight arc, but you can say it's more of a straighter shot, a flatter shot that you're going to use and get through those vitals. So that's basically all I got for you guys today. Again, it's just my opinion on 800 grain arrows versus 400 or 500 grain arrows. Again, speed to me is right up there at the top with kinetic energy and your momentum. So, again, that's just my opinion. Again, I invite all of your opinions. Is this gentleman wrong? No, I mean it's up to you. If you want to use a 1,000-pound grain arrow, that's up to you. But that's really getting up there and getting out of there and getting out of the ballpark. So 400 or 500 grain arrows, in my opinion, are perfect for shooting a moose or an elk or something along those lines. Because the momentum there, it's there. Now, if you're getting, Now, if you remember, it was down, I'm going to say below 500 or 5. I would say you're probably pushing the envelope. It might still move, but it might be on the bottom end of that. So, of course, you want to get your speed there because animals hear stuff and they take off. So, is a moose or an elk going to jump the string? I haven't seen any videos where they're jumping the string. I really haven't. But if there is, let me know. I mean, they may. I don't know. But I haven't, personally, I haven't seen any videos on that. But I've seen them, taking, 30, 40-yard shots and the arrow staying pretty flat. So, please, I invite the comments on this. But again, remember, hit that subscribe button below. Ring that bell. Give us the videos a thumbs up. Let me know what, I'll let you know when another video's coming out. I've had a packed week with other things going on. And I got another packed week coming up. I plan on going out and shooting my crossbow here this week. Oh my goodness. I hate my computer. All that noise. But I got finished sighting in my crossbow because I'm going to be. I did get out there this week and do some more, and I'll go into that here later. But I'm going to be checking my my broadheads here later this week, and hopefully I'll be getting out and getting a couple days of scouting in for my turkey hunt. That's coming up this week, if everything goes as planned. So I got another busy week coming up. Last week I had some things to do with my family and stuff, which was fine, great. I had a wonderful time. Yeah, I got, so that's my plan this week. So, again, before I go any further, though, just remember that today, and I'm going to be putting this video out today, is 9/11. Let's remember everybody that lost family members, lost their lives in 9/11, 20 years ago today. So, I remember where I was at. Do you remember where you were at? Let me know in the comments. Because I was at work. I was in the 911 system on that day, and it was a very solemn day and a very, very slow day, thank God. So just remember those people in our thoughts and prayers as we go on. So that's all I got for you today. Again, I enjoy your comments. Let me know what you think below. And again, this is opening up a can of worms on the vertical drops, the arrow speed, the kinetic energy, and the momentum. That is a can of worms that we could talk about forever and a day. And I welcome it. And I'll do more. I can do more videos on this stuff. But I'll have everything linked below for you guys. And remember, family first. Take care of your family. By all means, get out there and hunt, and see you on the next episode of Utah Crossbow Hunter.